For this story, we're gonna need to go back in time quite a ways. When I was going into high school, I wasn't the largest kid ever. I was 4'11". I was literally the size of like the smallest girls in my grade. Like there's photos of me at homecoming at like these school dances and I literally look like I'm 4 grades below everyone. I grew super late and then when I grew, it's not like I grew that much, you see what I'm saying? That kind of resulted in me always being quote unquote chubby. It was the classic little kid that never wanted to take his shirt off. I just didn't. It made me super uncomfortable. And I did. I wasn't the kid that wore like a swim shirt, which if you do, totally fine. I just wasn't that kid. I would just be uncomfortable with my quote unquote physique. I'm not gonna call it a physique because I was like 13, but I do enjoy looking back at photos and making the joke to my family and to my friends and be like, how come no one told me I was fat? My lack of growth mixed with lots of eating, not a lot of exercise minus riding scooters, but like also a lot of video games, resulted in just this chubby build. And it wasn't until high school where I finally thinned out from a mix of growing and going to the gym. And I was always scared to go to the gym too early because I always had that like stereotype in my head that like it stunts your growth or something, which it probably did. At around 14 or 15 is when I started going to the gym every day. I started running from my house to the gym, which was like a mile and a half, kind of uphill. I'd get to the gym, I'd hit a workout, and I'd go home. Some of my friends were getting into it, but especially my brother and his friends, who were a couple years older than me, were getting into it. The reason I say all this is because this is kind of what started this journey that I'm on now, where the roots of it really started from like a mindset perspective, from an insecurity perspective, and really from like a goals perspective. Like this is where I built my knowledge for fitness. This is where I realized the shape of my body made me insecure. This is one of the first lessons I learned at a young age about hard work and about what it takes to get the things you want. And I've always had that mentality growing up. Like I've had this conversation before with action sports. It's like all I did my whole childhood was action sports. All I would do was fail, get back up, try it again until it worked. So I definitely had the grit. It was just working out was like my first outlet where that was actually applied. Now, we're not gonna focus too much on this. Fast forward a couple years, my early adult life, I'm still in that. I've always been on and off with fitness. And I've always been pretty happy with my physique, with my body. Like I've never really been uncomfortable, but I've definitely gone through phases where that insecurity still shines through. In my adult form, I was never really out of shape, but there have been periods where I guess I waited a little long to correct. This is how I look at it. From maybe 18 to 21, it was a constant cycle of being conscious of what I'm eating. I wouldn't actively just down a thing of chicken Alfredo. I wouldn't actively order a pizza at a restaurant. I would from time to time, and I would consume alcohol from time to time, but it was like I was always conscious of it. I'd say I probably roughly ate 2,000 calories a day, sometimes 1,800, sometimes 5,000. Like this is literally how I ran my fitness before this year. As I would slowly gain a little bit of weight, I would then be more conscious of it. And then as I was losing more and more weight and becoming more shredded, or I was running more, like during COVID, I was literally running like 7 miles a day. I was in really good shape. So my diet was probably a little more out of control because I could eat more. So it was just like this couple year, I don't want to call it a battle because I wasn't really battling much, but period where I was just maintaining. It was like this teeter-totter. It was like the better shape I'm in, the more food I eat. The worse shape I'm in, the less food I eat. And then I would go through phases of like actually getting into fitness or falling out of fitness. Like I did 75 hard and that was where I definitely focused on my diet and my fitness at the same time. Over COVID, I was definitely eating cleaner, being more conscious, exercising a ton. I had nothing better to do. So fast forward to moving to Arizona, I had a lot of time on my own, as most people know. At the same time, I had just gotten into boxing pretty heavy. Over the past couple years, I dislocated my shoulder 4 to 5 times before I moved to Arizona. Boxing was my ideal cardio slash fitness slash PT for my shoulder. And I understand boxing is also like a big risk to reward from like a correcting my shoulder standpoint. But for me, it was like, I'm gonna be careful and also use my shoulder and try to build a lot of the muscles in my shoulder that I haven't built before, that I was probably lacking, which was my idea of why my shoulder was popping out. Once I moved to Arizona, I started taking my fitness the most serious. But when I moved here, I wouldn't say it was foolproof. I'd still had that knowledge, and I've always had a decent bit of knowledge into the world of fitness. I've done carb backloading. I've done intermittent fasting. I've done a lot of different types of quote unquote diets or lifestyles with eating, and I've seen success in a lot of them. I've seen where my body reacts better, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of information on health. So I was definitely aware of it, but where I went wrong was I always made the excuse that I had a bad metabolism, not realizing that my metabolism was directly correlated to the diet that I have been feeding myself for years prior. And that's what I learned being here, which we'll get into. About a year into boxing, a year in Arizona, maybe less, I dislocated my shoulder for the 6th time. What I was doing, you ask? Boxing. And listen, I always knew that was an option, and so it's not like I can sit here and complain that it happened, but that was another big hiccup in my journey of fitness. And so, let's fast forward another 6 months. Lease was coming to an end, and we were looking to get another roommate. At the time, I was living with Kiki, who was my filmer and editor at the time. We were looking at 3-bedroom places, potentially moving in with a buddy of ours named Scotty, who is my current roommate. All while this was happening, I was getting back into the gym, trying to recoup my shoulder. I could not box anymore. I still haven't really been able to get into boxing. I was definitely doing less cardio, more weightlifting, less cardio, pretty similar diet. That's all the backstory that leads us to this specific chapter in my life where this transformation, quote unquote, took place. My current home that I live in now is me, Keelan, and Scotty. Scotty is the roommate that you literally see in all my videos. He's the one that I did the podcast with on my old main channel, or Jordan Bow 2, Two Guys in the Sunrise. If you don't watch it, go check it out. Scotty has always been super deep into fitness. He was a nutrition coach, a fitness coach, I think at one point, and because of an accident he had years and years ago, he has learned so much about the world of health, wellness, nutrition, fitness. Scotty's also in incredible shape. So when I moved in with Scotty, it was at this point in my life where I really wanted to focus on my fitness. I was really focused on my work. This was like the next chapter of my life. And at the same time, living with someone like Scotty who was so dialed in on his diet, going to the gym all the time, I knew this was an opportunity for me. Me and Scotty had a chat, ironically before we moved in together, just for him to come over and just kind of create me a plan, something new, something that I didn't know. I had to drop my ego and realize that I by no means know everything there is to know about fitness and that I had a lot to learn. And so Scotty had set me up with a plan, and before we actually had moved in here, I had started on that plan. But at the start, it was just eat this much food, go to the gym, you don't need to do any cardio, whatever it may be. And so it was very different for me because what I had learned, the first thing Scotty ever taught me was that I don't need to cut. I actually need to go into a bulk, essentially a weight gain, a muscle gain, a lean bulk if you want to call it, to speed up my metabolism. And that was the problem that he had noticed, and I probably just didn't notice my whole life, was that eating 2,000 calories a day for me, that just became my maintenance. And so anytime I ate above that, or I had those 3,000 calorie days or those rogue 4,000 calorie days, I was putting on fat because my body was only using the 2,000 calories and I probably wasn't burning another 2,000 calories. It was an immediate wake-up call for me that the first thing he wanted me to do was eat 2,500 calories. And then we bumped it up to 3,000 calories. And then we bumped it up to 3,500 calories. And this is where the bulk really started. So this started about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I want to say, is where I really committed and on paper started tracking a bulk. gym every day for the most part, nearly 7 days a week. My shoulder has been starting to feel better, and I'm eating a lot of food. I'm tracking my food. I'm trying to eat clean for the most part. And I'd say at the beginning of the bulk, I was really eating clean. And again, for those who don't know what bulk is, just weight gain. Bumping up my food so that we can bring my maintenance calorie level, essentially what my body burns in a day from just sitting, up, essentially boosting my metabolism. As I was bulking, I was just getting more and more into fitness. I was spending more and more time with Scotty. He was always at the gym with me, showing me new workouts, and literally every day, you can ask Scotty this, I was asking so many questions about fitness. Just the most random hypothetical questions that just helped me understand everything better. That bulk lasted about 2 months. I think the goal weight for me was 170 to 180. I ended up kind of waking up around 171 to 173. Like any other bulk, I had put on some fat, I'd put on a lot of muscle, and I just felt that it was time. I didn't want to go into a massive bulk, which probably would have been technically better for me, quote unquote, if I did bulk up to 180, 185. But keep in mind, I'm 5'8" and some change, maybe 5'9" on a really good day, you know, where I'm standing tall or something. That's a lot of weight. I'd be a thick boy. As you guys know, the infamous photo of me hiking the mountain that I do post a lot and use on social media a lot, that was kind of like where I realized that, okay, it's time to lean out again. Keep in mind, I am a social media creator. I have a presence online. I like fashion, and I'd come from a background of insecurity about my weight. So it's like, I do have a hard time putting on too much fat. And I'd say I definitely trusted the process enough leading up to there where I was okay with the fat I had put on. And ironically, one of the funny things I say all the time is I literally built like reverse body dysmorphia. Like, for how much fat I had gained as well as muscle, like I was a big boy. I'd literally look in the mirror and I would think that I look pretty lean, rather than people who are lean and feel like they look overweight, which is literally a mental illness because you don't. I was literally experiencing the opposite. I probably could have kept going, but I think the video where I'd played back the clip of me just like jiggling on this mountain, we're gonna get into that day because that day has some caveats. But that was when I was like, all right, I think it's time to start a cut. I'd been really excited to cut because I had put on so much muscle and I did want to see my work pay off. And also, it wasn't a big turning point in my career where I started my new channel. Just like, I wanted to look good and I wanted to feel good, more importantly. The day I decided to start the cut, essentially, I guess we had kind of talked about it leading up to that, but that was the day where we're like, all right, this needs to happen. I filmed the video releasing this YouTube channel. It was the video where I had dropped my old 1 million subscriber channel and just started fresh. And it was a video where I hiked my play button to the top of Camelback Mountain. And I was hiking with my shirt off because it was a really hot day. I didn't bring water, and so there was no way I was gonna wear my shirt. Like I said, I had like reverse body dysmorphia, so I thought I looked pretty great. This day in specific, I looked like a pile of shit. I must have had a ton of salt the day before. I must have slept like shit. I don't know what it was, but trust me, the day before that and the day after that, I did not look like this. I edited this video. Like, I was okay putting it out, but I was like, damn. We really bulked. The good thing is I always say like God plumped me up that day, so I had a good transformation photo, but like that was like the peak bulk for me, and that was just the worst day where my body carried the most weight. We honestly can't explain it, but it's so funny that I have that photo and that video, especially a video, because I feel like in transformations a lot of the time it's bullshit. And so for me to have this video of me just jiggling along, that was literally less than 2 months ago from today. And so that's where the cut started. And I've been cutting for, I believe, about 52 days as of today, 53 days as of today. And I am down all the way to roughly 155 pounds from nearly 175. I was 175 pounds midday. I wasn't weighing myself in the morning during the bulk. I was just weighing myself randomly. So realistically, I was probably waking up more so around 168, which the past couple weeks, I had a week where I wasn't sleeping very much. I was forgetting to eat. It's a long story. Nothing's wrong, by the way. I was just busy. I actually dropped a little too much weight. So the past couple weeks, we are trying to like either up my calories or make sure I stay on track and move around a little less. But give or take, I've lost around 15 pounds in the past 50 days, which isn't that much. Realistically, you can do more, but the main goal for us was to drop as little muscle as possible, because when you cut, your body will to some extent pull from muscle. And so the goal for me was to do a really, really slow cut so that we just take off fat slowly but surely and we keep on muscle, while at the same time I'm essentially building muscle too, doing like hypertrophy exercises at the gym, meaning like lifting as heavy as I possibly can till failure, so that we are getting that anabolic reaction. I know I'm using a bunch of big words here, bear with me, so that I am gaining muscle. And so I'm definitely losing a lot more than I'm gaining, but we're trying to minimize the best we can how much loss of muscle I experience. And I know there's a bunch of nerdy things, but I'm really just trying to dive more deep into the last 50 days because that's really what I've been asked about a lot. And this is kind of like the update video I wanted to make. And these are all things that I had to learn because I had a newfound metabolism that I never knew about. We had built my metabolism up to around, I'd say 23 to 2,500 maintenance calories being burned per day. So essentially my metabolism jumped by probably 10 to 20% since we started any of this. And that was the huge thing for me, was seeing my body able to just burn that many calories per day and not be so affected by the things I'm eating. Like I said before, I was always gaining weight and losing weight, and it was just like this battle, like food really affected me. And now I'm at this point where I have more muscle on me, my body does need to use more of what I'm ingesting for that, and so it's been really cool to see how many calories I've been eating in a cut. Like this is shit that Scotty set up for me, and something that not a lot of people know. I started this cut at 2,700 calories a day, and 50 days later, I'm still eating 2,600 calories a day. Though there was a point where we're adding in cardio, like right now, I'm not even doing that, and I'm still dropping too quick. And that's something I want a lot of people to realize is, if you're like that like skinny fat, or like you're just lean, you should start with some sort of muscle gain. You need to get your metabolism up. It will pay off so much in the end, and I know it's not easy, but it's one of those trust the process things. Obviously, you can do a really slow gain where you keep your calories a little higher, but you're gonna gain muscle a lot slower. And again, you can do this 100 different ways, but for me, that's like the biggest thing I learned, was that bulk was so crucial for building up my metabolism, and then my metabolism was something that I'd struggled with for so long and thought that I could never change. We're gonna do one douchey thing. Ugh. This is the current physique right now. At 156 pounds, this is me after I ate breakfast, 2 coffees, breakfast. Like, this is not me being too lean. I don't even know why my pants are, I'm all buttoned up all the way. They're not unzipped, I swear. I am currently sat at probably similar body fat than I was when I started all of this, maybe a year ago. The only difference is I probably weigh 13 more pounds. And so have I gained 13 pounds of muscle over the course of that? I don't know exactly, but this is probably the leanest I've ever been, and I'm not even really there yet. And so I show you guys this not to brag, because again, I'm not where I want to be yet, but I am proud of how far I come. And I just want you guys to know that I feel so good. It just feels good to look good. And I think that is the most inspirational thing for anyone out there who wants to get in shape. That hard work you're dreading, the work you're dreading to put in, blocking it out because you know it's unrealistic, that work isn't as hard as it is to not feel good. The hardest thing in the world is to wake up every day and not feel good. And so if you're dreading putting in the work to change your appearance, from a health perspective, not from a plastic surgery, get your lips done perspective, what you're going through right now is harder at the end of the day than the work it's gonna take for you to change.